Hi guys, today we are going to look at waves and the different types of waves that happen at the coastline. So obviously most of the erosion that happens at the coastline is due to waves. Waves have got a lot of power and energy, and that is formed by the strength of the wind. So the stronger the wind, if we have storms, then the waves will be stronger and have more energy, and the coastline will be eroded more because those waves have got more power. And that power is transferred onto the rocks and the coastline by the waves, and that causes erosion. So the first thing we have to consider is that the sea will hit the land in, like we said, in the form of waves. Now, if that sea is very long, then the waves have a long time to build up power, and that is what we call the fetch. So I've got here, it says the length of water that the wind blows over. So for example, if we consider the UK, and if we think about the UK or look at it on a map, on the west hand side of the UK towards Devon and Cornwall, the next piece of land really, apart from Ireland, is America. So the Atlantic Ocean is a very vast, big amount of water. And as the air kind of comes from the Atlantic and pushes and the wind blows, etc., the Atlantic waves get to build up very, very strongly because they've had a long length of water to build up. So by the time they hit the west of the UK, they've got a lot, what we call a long fetch, and they're very powerful waves. And the more powerful the waves are, then the more trouble it will cause the coastline, the more erosion will happen. So if we consider the south of the UK along the coastline, kind of the bottom bit, Dorset and some of the other counties down there, the south of Kent, etc., we can imagine that we've got France to the south of us. Now, the gap between the UK and France, the English Channel, is quite small. So any wind that is blowing from south to north, as it does sometimes, will only have a small amount. It's a little bit bigger than that in reality. It will only have a small amount of distance to build those waves up. So the fetch is much smaller with any wind or waves that are coming from the south of the UK to moving northwards. So if the winds are blowing in a south to north direction, the fetch will be shorter. So the amount of energy that those waves have got will be less. Now, where we are on the east side of the UK, where I am, and maybe where you are, so we've got Kent and Essex, and we've got parts of Yorkshire and where Hull is, and Scarborough and places like that, East Yorkshire. Then we have got, in the winter time, we have got the North Sea. Now, the North Sea is quite large, not as large as the Atlantic, but it's quite large. And in the winter time, when we get most of our wind from the northeast quite often, then that's quite a large fetch for those northerly winds to come southwards, and they batter the eastern side of the UK with lots and lots of energy. So that is quite a long fetch, and that will provide, especially like I said in the winter time, a lot of energy for those waves to hit the coastline, and that's where most erosion happens during the winter. Now, fortunately, the west of the UK, even though I said that fetch is really big on the western side, those rocks there in the west are very hard rock. There's lots of granites and igneous rocks, but also those waves really hit us during spring and summer, so they don't have as much power because we don't get as many storms, etc. So really, a lot of this wave energy comes to the UK on the eastern side of the UK because it's travelled across the North Sea, and it has this very long fetch. So that's what a fetch is when you read that in your notes. Now, two types of waves I'm just going to very quickly go through. We've got constructive waves, which it says here, these are waves that we get in the summertime. They're not very strong because the winds are not that strong in the summertime. They've got a strong swash. That's somebody mowing grass outside. You'd think it would be quiet, wouldn't you? But it isn't. So the summertime has strong swash, which is the wave going up the beach. And so it takes a lot of the material and it dumps it onto the beach, and it's got a very weak backwash, which means that the wave going out isn't very strong. So what happens in summer waves is that the beach gets built up, which is good because we're on the beach using it. It's gently sloping beaches, as you can see from my amazing diagram at the bottom, and the waves have less power and because there are less storms. So we have these nice built up beaches in the summertime. Now I'm just going to persevere over the grass cutting because I've come too far now. The destructive waves happen in the winter time. Now in the winter we get very strong waves, especially like I said in the east of the UK, and these very strong waves have got a lot of energy, so they erode the beach. Now the swash isn't very strong, but the backwash is. So the swash brings the wave in, the backwash takes away lots and lots and lots of material. So we end up, as my, again, amazing diagram says here, a very steep beach. Now the thing you need to remember is that beaches change, okay? They change all the time. The material's always moving, constantly moving. And the beaches change from nice flat beaches that we lie on in the summer to steep, short beaches in the winter time. So I'm going to end there. Because there's a lot of noise, and that is your waves and your constructive and destructive waves.